session of GCAN, Current Affairs and News Analysis. So let us look into today's topic. I have with me about 7 topics today. First we will be discussing about the staple visa issue between India and China. Then we have the Fukushima nuclear wastewater that is actually released back into the ocean. Then we have the Buddhavanam project, MSME proposal. Then we have the second Vikrant like carrier to be, like there is actually talk about inducing like aircraft commission like similar to that of Vikrant aircraft. Then we have the Nagorno-Karabakh region. This has been in news for a long time, so I will give you a glimpse on what happened recently in that area. Then we have the Orisis Rex spacecraft that actually, the capsule that actually landed back in Earth on the Utah Desert in America, and what this mission is actually dealing about. So the first we will be actually dealing about the staple visa issue. Now the staple visa, the context is that China has actually denied the access of 3 Indians from Arunachal Pradesh, claiming that Arunachal Pradesh is actually an area of China, and for like all the Indians out there, just in the Arunachal Pradesh area, the China actually issued staple visa, and for the other Indians, China issued regular visas. So the thing is that the Chinese embassy in India actually issued staple visas to 3 Wushu players from Arunachal Pradesh. The thing is that the Chinese embassy also told the airlines that if they don't have these 3 contestants don't have the staple visa, then they won't be actually get entered into the airline as well. So that is what has been in the news recently, and because of which as a protest our Union Sports Minister Anurag Thakur has also not visited China, because in China there is actually Asian Games happening. So these players, also the 3 players from Arunachal Pradesh, was to participate in this Asian Games. So because of the staple visa issues, these 3 players will not be participating in the Asian Games, and our Union Sports Minister will not also be visiting China as a protest to this staple visa issue. This staple visa, which has been actually, as I have told you, this was actually rejected by India. So this is not the first time that China is actually issuing staple visa. For areas like Jammu and Kashmir, the Ladakh region, Aksai Chin region, Ladakh region, as well as this Arunachal Pradesh region, these are both the areas that actually China claims, and China claims these as a part of their territory. So in this certain area, wherever an Indian goes to China, China issues staple visa and not a regular visa. So that has been in the news. Even if it's actually visited from minister or a defense personnel is actually visiting from these particular both areas, the thing is that the China will issue only staple visa and not the regular visa. So this has been going on since 2008. Now what China is actually doing, that China is misusing the sports event into a geopolitical issues. Now the sports event should take place without any geopolitical issues between countries going on. China has misused this sports platform for various geopolitical issues, not against just India but also against the other countries as well. You can actually ensure a very big example is that a PLA commander who was actually in the Galwan issue, like Galwan clashes in 2020, was actually made the torch bearer for the Winter Olympics that was held in China. Now this is actually against India or to trigger India as well. So such sporting events have been actually used by China for this geopolitical issues. So now you will be wondering what is a staple visa and what is the difference between a regular visa. So we will be looking into the staple visa, what it is. So you might have seen the regular visa where if you are traveling to another country, the destination place will be actually stamped and sealed upon it. But what the problem with the staple visa is that this particular is actually not stamped. There is actually a very simple piece of paper which actually written that you are visiting China, and this is actually stapled upon your original passport. So the thing is that when you enter China and then you leave China, the Chinese, what will they do, that they will actually take off or pluck off this piece of paper which actually shows the proof that you actually visited China. In the regular passport is that there will be actually stamped and there will be sealed, because of which they will know that you have visited this many countries, you have come on and out of this country. The exit and the entry will be actually known and demarcated in the regular passport. But the staple visa is that it's a simple piece of paper which is actually attached to your passport. The thing is that when you exit China, they will actually plug this piece of paper out. The thing is that there won't be any records of you entering or exiting exiting this country. So that is what is saying. Why is actually China doing this? For particularly areas like Arunachal Pradesh and Ladakh region, as I have told you, China thinks that these are their territory. So because of which the people in this area is also Chinese, or they are belonging to the Chinese territory. So the thing is that you don't need any regular visa to visit China. So this is actually affecting the sovereignty of India. The Chinese is giving out the claim that these areas are under Chinese territory and you don't need regular visa like the other Indians to come in and out of China. So that is what is actually shown as per the staple visa. So that is why India is anger, and this actually affects India's sovereignty, and China is actually claiming all these territory by itself, which is actually against the international norms as well. So that is the issue of this staple visa. So you can see this, it looks like this similarly. Then we have the nuclear Fukushima power plant issue. So the thing is that Fukushima, as you know, is in Japan, and there was a massive earthquake which triggered a massive tsunami which happened place in about 2011. The thing is that Japan is actually affected by a lot of natural disasters. You can talk earthquake, you have typhoons, you have like tsunamis, etc. Japan actually sits in the Pacific Ring of Fires, and this is actually also a breeding ground for typhoons, because of which the infrastructure in Japan is actually very vulnerable and is affected by these kinds of natural disasters. So what Japan states that Japan needs superior infrastructure so that it can actually withstand these kinds of threats. So what infrastructure? The construction takes place according to the safety norms of International Atomic Energy Agency. Japan actually follows the standards which has been laid down by IAEA, that is the International Atomic Energy Agency. And the thing is that this infrastructure is actually affected Japan. The thing is that Japan actually invested heavily in case of nuclear power plants. Now this nuclear power plants, as you know, it gives out a lot of clean energy compared to the other kind of fossil fuels. So Japan is that, since like for a century, Japan has been working and developing a lot of nuclear power plants, and such a nuclear power plant is actually Fukushima nuclear power plant. Although Japan has actually taken proper standards to ensure that these are not affected by an earthquake or tsunami, such incident has been actually happening because it's not due to the lack of safety, but the thing is that there was certain backup powers that has been going on. So I'll tell you what happened in the 2011 Fukushima area. So as you can see, this is a map of Japan. This is where the earthquake actually triggered. It was like about a 9 magnitude earthquake. You can see the Fukushima Daiichi. This is the plant. Fukushima Daiichi plant is what has been actually affected. The thing is that in 2011 there was actually a massive underground earthquake, underwater earthquake, which actually triggered almost 11 feet tall tsunami. The thing is that all these nuclear power plants in Japan has actually they have an automatic system where they can understand there is actually going to be an earthquake or tsunami going to happen. So the thing is that even in this Fukushima area, they actually got the report that there is a coming of tsunami. So they actually shut down the entire nuclear power plant, and they switched on the backup power plant because the core needs cooling, continuous cooling. So before this, they actually on the backup power plant, which is actually diesel backup power plant. But the problem, and they switched on the entire nuclear power plant. But the problem was that the tsunami which came actually destroyed this backup power plant. When this backup power plant was switched off, the core started melting, because of which lots of radioactive elements was actually leaked out. Now this actually affected the air, the water, the soil, everything in that Fukushima area, completely contaminating this area. So that is what has actually happened in Fukushima nuclear power plant. This was not the fault of Japanese, because they have done every safety procedures. But the thing was that the backup power system actually failed and it was actually destroyed by the upcoming tsunami. So then what the context here is that the Japan are actually going to release the wastewaters which has been actually treated. The contaminated, the radioactively contaminated wastewater will be actually released by Japan into the sea. So that is the context of the grave, like everybody, why it is actually alerting a global hegemony into this. The thing is that the water was actually treated by the Tokyo Electric Power Company. Now this company, the TEPCO company, was actually assigned with the decommissioning of the Fukushima power plant and also managing of the wastewater that came here. The company has actually treated the water in multiple stages, especially using the advanced liquid processing system, which actually removes about 62 types of radioactive material. But the problem here is that even though it actually remove 62 types of contaminating or radioactive materials, the thing is that they don't actually remove tritium. Now this is actually a grave concern. This tritium, like the Japanese stated that this tritium content or the amount in the wastewater is actually lesser than that has been prescribed by the International Atomic Energy Agency. So this tritium, even though it is actually present in water, is not a grave threat to human beings. But the expert says otherwise. So because of this tritium is not treated and this tritium is also released to the wastewater in the ocean, particularly China and South Korea are very concerned, and China altogether banned the import of seafood from Japan. So Japan and China and South Korea has been actually issuing a grave concern against this release of this contaminated water which contain tritium. The tritium, even though in lower levels, get accumulated in our body. It goes into our bloodstreams and it stays in our body altogether for decades and decades. The thing is that even a small amount of tritium can cause us cancer. If that is in the body of a pregnant lady, if this kind of tritium is actually deposited in the placenta of the body, placenta of the pregnant woman's body, it can actually affect the development of an unborn child as well. So you can see, even though it's a very small level, this tritium is actually of grave concerns to human being. This can stay in our body for decades and decades and actually affect our immune system. It can cause cancer and other things, and also actually affect an unborn child as well. So that is what has been in news, and Japan is actually going to release, it has been almost a lot of years, and in the coming 50 years, Japan will actually release this wastewater no matter what. The thing is that Japan has no place to store this wastewater anymore, and this wastewater which has been treated is actually mixing with the already good water body, and it is actually affecting their livelihood. So because of which Japan has no other way than release this water. Moving on, we have, this is what I have told in the last slide about tritium. Then the next slide we have the Buddhavanam project. Now in the historical point of view, relating arts and culture and history, particularly if you are talking about the ancient history and Buddhism, this Buddhavanam project is actually very much important to India. This Buddhavanam project is one of the largest heritage project in all of Southeast Asia. So how is this, what is this project we will be dealing about? So you see, this is the Buddhavanam project situated. It is one of the largest in the Southeast Asia, and it is actually nearer to the Nagarjuna Sagar Dam on the banks of, you can see the Krishna river, on the banks of Krishna river. You can see a lot of Buddhist sites and other stupas and heritage structure in surrounding to this stupa as well. So this stupa comes under this Buddhavanam project. Now the natural cave system which is actually present, like natural Buddhist cave system that is actually present in India, is similar to the Matale rock-cut caves that is actually present in Sri Lanka. This Matale rock-cut cave system is actually pretty much important in the point of Buddhism as well as for the cultural and ethnic heritage link between India and Sri Lanka. So the Matale rock-cut area, now you know the Buddhist scriptures like the Tripitaka, you have the Abhidhamma Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka. So all these Pitakas, Tripitakas was actually orally portrayed from generation to generation. For the first time in Matale rock-cut caves, people actually came together to write this down, write this Tripitakas down. So it actually became the first ever Buddhist inscription to be written down, and this was actually done in this Matale rock-cut cave that was actually present in Sri Lanka. Now this was done under the patronage of King Devanapriya, and he is actually contemporary to our king, our Mauryan Emperor Ashoka. So Matale rock-cut caves is important from that angle. And another important Buddhist like Theravada Buddhist philosopher called the Buddhaghosa has actually compiled another work called the Vishuddhimagga, also in this Matale rock-cut cave. So because of which this Buddhavanam project in India as well as the Matale rock-cut cave becomes very important. Like you need to remember mainly two things where this Buddhavanam project is located. It is near to the Nagarjuna Sagar Dam on the banks of river Krishna. Then another thing is about the Matale rock-cut caves where all the Tripitakas were actually written down, and also the next thing is that Buddhaghosa actually wrote his work called the Vishuddhimagga. Buddhaghosa Vishuddhimagga is actually written in this particular area. So that is something which you need to know from this Buddhavanam project. And next we have the MEME proposal. In the last class I have told you about the University Grant Commission trying to actually change higher education systems and platform, especially in the universities. So in that multiple entry and multiple exit proposal has actually put down in lines with that of the Western model. The thing is that I have been doing engineering for 2 years. I am fed up of this engineering. I want to change my course into some kind of fashion designing. The thing is that in the earlier years, if I am going to leave my degree in between, I will lose everything. It will be losing like 2 years altogether, and then if I am going to fashion designing, I will have to start everything from scratch. But this ME proposal, what it states that in 2 years I have done engineering, I have got some credit in that engineering as well. Now this credit get transferred to this fashion designing college which I am going to join. The thing is that I don't have to start from scratch there. I have already this credit system which I have gained in the last 2 years of doing engineering, and this credit system get transferred here so that it won't be starting from scratch. You can start the course from mid as well because you will be earning much more credit. Now these kind of credit system actually take place in the Western model in Western countries. There are a lot of advantages to this system. The thing is that even if you drop out, like after 2 years of engineering because of some financial crisis, you were actually forced to drop out of your course, and then like 3 to 4 years, if you are going to start this course again, you have to start again from scratch. But the advantage of the system is that in the 2 years which you have learned engineering, you can get some credits, and after 4 to 5 years when you are rejoining again, this credit get transferred and you don't have to start fresh again. Now because of this, there are a lot of advantages which you can see is that it provides for lifelong learning. Even age is not a barrier. Usually when we do engineering, you are considered like 17-18 years, you are going to start engineering, 21-22 years you actually pass out. More than that is not actually an ideal age, what is actually considered. But with this system, even after when there is actually a breakage of turns, you can actually continue learning and age doesn't become a barrier here. Then you can actually switch colleges in between, and this credit system which you have earned in the first college get transferred to the second college. Also it reduces the dropout age. When you are forced to drop out, you can actually come and rejoin the course again without having to start from fresh again, because of which it will actually reduce the dropout age. Flexible courses. You have been studying 2-year engineering. I want to go fashion designing for the next few years. You can actually mix and match flexible courses according to your wish. So that is also one of the advantages of this. It permits transdisciplinary combinations, as I told you, mix and match of all this. It actually values students' choice of course. You are forced to join engineering, like I have my friends who has actually forced to join engineering, and then they had dropped out in the second or third year, and then they actually went to pursue their own wishes. So it actually values a choice of students, and if you don't like this course, you can actually drop out. But there are particular challenges. Now this is actually practiced in the Western model. Now for a country like India with a large amount of population, we don't know how this kind of Western model will actually benefit in a country like India. The thing is that the universities won't know how many students will be joining and how many students will actually drop out of their universities as well. Now this affects the teacher to children's ratio within India. Already in India we have a low, like one teacher will be teaching about 100 students. Now we don't know how many students will be dropping out from a particular university, and we don't know how many children will be actually joining this particular courses also. So because of it, there is actually a logistical problem that is associated with this. Another thing is the particular credit system. Now this credit system will be actually uploaded digitally, but we don't know the ground level realities of how will this take place, how the transfer of credit will take place, how it actually affect the Indian education system is also not known. So all this actually, when we introduced the NEP also, we had implementation issues. Similarly, when this ME proposal also came, we have implementation issues as well. But if you are looking at the larger advantages, this particular system is actually much more advantageous. So certain challenges or concern has been raised by some experts, even the parliamentary committee. So they have asked the government to actually review this proposal again so that it can actually adapt to the Indian model of curriculum and education. So that is the ME portal, that's a multiple entry and multiple exit proposal. Then we have about the second Vikrant carrier. Now presently we have 2 aircraft carrier. One is INS Vikramaditya, which we actually got from Russia, and the other one is indigenously developed one, that is the INS Vikrant. Now in the coming years, like the INS Vikramaditya will be actually decommissioned. So to substantiate that, we actually need another aircraft carrier. So the Indian Navy has actually given out some proposals so that they can actually develop another indigenous aircraft carrier like that of the Vikrant. You can see the INS Vikramaditya and INS Vikrant in this picture. So the thing is that the Indian Navy actually wants to get three aircraft carriers, so they can actually culminate or accumulate this blue water navy of this, which means the blue water navy basically means a domination, like the navy will have the domination of the entire ocean. It will, even if they have like 3 aircraft carriers, they can actually dominate the Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea as well as the Bay of Bengal. So to culminate this idea, the Indian Navy has actually proposed the induction of an indigenous new aircraft carrier. So IAC actually talks about indigenous aircraft carrier, that is IAC. The INS Vikrant is actually IAS-1, and the one that Navy wants is actually IAS-2 to be actually developed. So the thing is that the Navy has actually given certain proposals or condition to that of Defence Procurement Board, and if this Defence Procurement Board actually approves, then this actually goes to the Defence Acquisition Council. This Defence Acquisition Council is the highest body which actually approves the defence procurement, and this is actually headed by the Defence Minister. So that is what which you need to know in this case of Vikrant like carrier. Moving on, we have the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Now this has been in news for a long time. This area where you see, this is actually the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Internationally, this area is actually accepted under this Azerbaijan region. But the ground reality is that lot of ethnic Armenians actually live in this area. So because of it, there has been a lot of clashes that has been happening between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So this area will actually come under either Armenia or Azerbaijan. Another thing is that this Armenia consists majority of Christian community, whereas this Azerbaijan region is majorly Muslim majority community. So because of which this actually also become a communal issues. So based upon this Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is actually a Russia-led initiative, which states that the member countries, if one member country is actually attacked, the other member countries will actually come to its support. So Armenia and Russia was also in this. So the thing is that when Armenia came under attack because of Azerbaijan, Russia was not there to help Armenia, because already there is Ukraine war happening. All the hands of Russia was actually filled up, because of which Russia could not come and help Armenia. So it was close to actually violating this Collective Security Treaty Organization. But the thing is that Armenia is actually not alone. The partner Turkey has been actually helping Armenia, including India has been helping Armenia, and India and Armenia has a lot of diplomatic relationships going on. The thing is that Azerbaijan has been supporting Pakistan in key issues in India like Kashmir issues and such. So to retaliate that, India has been actually helping Armenia with ammunitions and such also. So the thing is that presently what is happening is that Azerbaijan is actually accumulated this area, and all the ethnic Armenian communities which was present in this Nagorno area are actually going back to Armenia. So that is what was there in news today. You can actually expect prelims questions like, this is the Caspian Sea which you actually see here. Which are the countries that actually surrounds the Caspian Sea? You can actually see Azerbaijan is a bordering with Caspian Sea, but not this Armenia region. They can actually ask you which all countries actually surrounding Caspian Sea as such. So you can actually see which all the countries actually surrounding this Armenia-Azerbaijan region. So these are the prelims question which you can actually expect in your exams. Then we have the Pacific Islands Forum. Now the Pacific Islands is actually a group of close to 18 countries. So China, because of its aggression, has been seeing a lot of presence in this particular area. So because of which US, to actually intervene its stance again, it's actually creating a Pacific Islands Forum. The main aim is actually to counter the Chinese aggression. The Pacific Island Forum consists about 18 countries. As you can see here, all the countries, these are the Pacific Island countries. This is actually close to, you can see Australia and New Zealand in this area. China has a particular relationship as well as a security pact with the Solomon Islands, as you see here. So this is actually a threat to the sovereignty, because you see these are very small countries, but their advantage is that they have huge exclusive economic zone, because of which all these 18 countries consist of a lot of natural resources. So China particularly is actually interested upon this exclusive economic zones of this area. So USA actually wants to culminate all these 18 countries together, so they can actually take a stand against the Chinese aggression. You can see major countries like Samoa, Tuluva, Fiji Islands. India has a good relationship with Fiji Islands. Fiji Island consists of many of the people are from Indian origin background. We have the Cook Island, Kiribati, Samoa. So these are some of the important areas, important Pacific Island countries. So because of which the summit or the forum will be actually taking place in the next week, Sunday, Monday, that will be happening in the next week. So we'll get more details of what happened within the forum next week as well. Moving to the last topic, we have the OSS-REx spacecraft. Now this particular spacecraft was actually launched by NASA in the year 2016. It has been almost close to 7 years since this particular spacecraft has been actually launched from Earth. The main purpose of the spacecraft was to actually collect samples from the asteroid called Bennu. Now this asteroid is actually carbon rich asteroids, and the particular aim was to actually collect these samples from the asteroids so they can actually learn about it, the origin of the Earth, the origin of the universe. Such thing we can actually understand from the samples that is actually taken from the asteroids called Bennu, one of the largest asteroids, and one of the has a large carbon, is very carbon rich. So because of which this particular spacecraft has been targeting Bennu, and now the capsule which actually collected the sample landed back in the Utah Desert in American region. America is not the first country to actually launch such initiative to collect sample. Japan, the JAXA space agency of Japan has actually collected asteroid sample, which is actually just a little bit of teaspoon, like that, only that much sample has been actually collected from Japan. So this is not the first, just remember the name OSS-REx spacecraft, and importantly you need to know the asteroid Bennu, which is actually related to it. So that is it for today. I have taken about 7 important topics that was actually present in the Hindu newspaper today. For tomorrow you will be actually getting a little bit of question, about 5 questions in your Gallant IAS Telegram channel. So please, at the lunch break time 1 to 1:30 you might get the 5 questions based upon tomorrow's Hindu newspaper. So please be free and attend that 5 questions that is in the Gallant IAS Telegram channel. So thank you and have a nice day.